Yo, what up? This is AJ. Welcome to the Chocolate Life, talking about everything in the universe of the chocolate people. You talking about the cocoa verse. Now, well, let's get to it. These high school athletes these days are different from even when I was an athlete in high school. And I'm not just saying this as a person. I'm not just saying this as some regular sports fan. But I'm saying this as a former athlete, coach, and as an educator and worked in the education system. A lot of these athletes are coming up especially when it comes to college football, they don't understand the work ethic behind what they're doing, especially in football, transitioning from high school to college. And I was blessed to get my first coaching job at the college level. And I had the greatest fortune in the world to coach at a school that I played at. You know what I'm saying? And this time, this was like mid 2000s, like 05, 06. I'm coaching these guys. These guys had work ethic. It didn't take a coach pumping and priming us to go out and get that work, put the work in the weight room, in conditioning and all of that. It didn't take all of that. And it was just a simple motivation, just getting up. You know what I'm saying? And then the best thing about playing at a historically black college, there's a line of the players that have come through there that made it to the highest level of football and are in the Hall of Fame. You know what I'm saying? Terrence Hollywood Henderson. He played at Langston University. Shad Johnson spent time at Langston University before he went to Oregon State. So those are, Matthew Hatchett. He was the last person to come out of Langston and get drafted. I met Matthew Hatchett my very first homecoming, playing at Langston University. These kids don't understand the work it takes to get to that level. Now, I have played overseas, and I've played at Canada, and I've also had NFL tryouts. And I will be the first to tell you, it is difficult. It is rough. Every kid thinks they're the next biggest thing in the league. And depending on the part of the country that you come from, they're going to believe that. And when you tell them that as a coach, they go, oh man, Coach Jones, you hating. Oh, Coach B, you just spiteful. No, we're being honest. See, these kids don't understand, when it comes into putting it at work, it don't care whether it's in season, off season, whether it's snow on the ground, whether you working indoors or outdoors. You got to put that work in. You got to have that mindset. I want to be better than the dudes I'm playing against. These dudes want to be better than the dudes that they share a locker room with. Oh, I'm better than him. I'm good. I'm better than him. But you're not going to be playing against that dude. You're going to be practicing with that dude. Hopefully y'all making yourselves better. But they're satisfied with being better than the guy next to them and not the guy that they're playing against. And that's where a lot of our generation is, they got the wrong mentality. And then when things don't go their way, they want to do crazy stuff and then blame it on blah, thus, and such, and not take some responsibility for their actions. I don't understand that. I've coached players that said, yeah, I'm going to this school to play ball, da-da-da-da-da, but just so happens they're undersized. They didn't play well enough. They're not fundamentally sound enough, but they were good enough to meet this coach's expectation. This coach sees something in them, but because they're not a D1 school, because this school don't play on TV, they didn't want to go to the school. I've even had players tell me, I don't want to go to no HBCU. Their competition is trash. Really? This is coming from a kid who's uncoachable, but is probably the most talented player on his team, but he stands in his own way. Because he has it in his head that he's a better basketball player than football player, when it's actually the opposite. This kid could get a scholarship in football, but he's so full of himself, he's keeping himself back and he don't even see it coming. I mean, I coach because I want to be an impact to the young fellas coming up behind me, the generation that's coming up behind me, because they going to be where I'm at in the next 15, 20 years. You know what I'm saying? These kids don't like reality. They have a set reality in their head based off of what they're seeing and what they're doing and what they know. But they don't take into account what the coaches are telling them to help them. They don't even factor that in. It's almost like because we older than them, we don't know nothing. These kids are so captured by what they see on the tube and what they see on the internet that they almost don't believe reality. And that's a bad place to be. See, this generation of high school athletes are so spoiled. And I'm not saying that in a negative way. I'm just saying that in a truthful light. I'm going to give you an example. I sustained two injuries in high school. One of those injuries happened my senior year. My right ankle and Achilles was messed up pretty much after game 3. I was pretty much hobbled, but I still mentally pushed myself through that. Pushed myself through it. And then a teammate in a drill twisted my bad ankle to where it re-aggravated my already previously injured Achilles. And it was a rough pill to swallow, but I had to fight through that mentally just to get to where I wanted to go, just to push forward. Most kids would have just locked it, would just pushed it in mentally and just accept everything for what it was. But I was trying to help my team get somewhere we ain't never been before. And guess what? We went there. We won a championship. A lot of people didn't even see that coming. A lot of people sold us out from jump, talking about we wasn't that good. We had more talent. We actually had more talent than people realized that we had at the time. A lot of people didn't get, and that's another thing. I coach at a school where, I just coached at a school where the faculty is not going to be behind you. I'm saying this I'm saying this as I'm taking myself back to when I was these kids' age. These kids have been exposed to a culture that has constantly been beat down and has constantly saw defeat on many levels and from many different circumstances and events. And those events have just constantly just beat down and beat those kids down mentally. These kids were so beat down. When I got there, my first year there, those seniors and juniors, those kids were hungry. They were hungry to win. But they had one chink in their armor. When things didn't go right and stuff started snowballing, they started to fall all over themselves and just threw the towel in. And that was the only problem that that first group of kids had. They were strong. They were strong. They were a strong group. I'm gonna say as a group they were strong, but it were certain people in that group that were so polarizing. When that one person would sink, it sunk the rest of the team. It was so polarizing. Now, when, I just look back. I just look back and just think about when I was those kids' age, I was with my teammates. Our mindset was, no matter how good or how bad this game turned out, we giving it 100. We trying to win. We gonna give it 100. And when we put it out on the field, we gonna be able to live with that effort. But these kids, and it's also a societal habit of the culture to be a microwave society. They want to win right now. These kids don't understand that you have to put in work and go through that process. You just can't up and just be like, oh, okay, we're going to win this year and it's going to happen. No, there's a process you have to go through and push yourself through. And I'm going to tell you straight up, it was a lot of our classmates that went to school with us that thought some of us were crazy because of the things we were putting ourselves through, what we were doing to our body. I'm not going to say we were doing anything bad to our bodies, but our coaches would put us in situations to where we put our bodies on edge just so when situations happened in games, we're mentally relaxed. Our bodies are mentally relaxed because we had already went through the hard part and the stressful part during the off season. And we saw evidence of that working when we took on two teams that we normally scrimmage during scrimmage seasons, and we didn't lose to none of them. We played a Kentucky state champion, 5A. That team ain't lost a game. It hadn't lost a game in 2 years. We faced them in scrimmage season and shut them out. We put up 38 on them and shut them out. Folks were trying to figure out what was going on. Then we played nothing but powerhouses. We scrimmaged nothing but powerhouses. We took a 1A state champion and shut them out. And it was a very physical and nasty, dirty, just smash mouth game. We took Trousdale County on, shut them out, 14-0. We had them scrambling all over the place. And then we just locked them up on D. These kids don't want to put in the work. They don't want to be physical, but they want to call themselves the toughest people in the school. It don't work like that. They got to put in the work. These kids don't realize that. They want everything to just be handed to them. And the thing that makes me so mad about this generation, this is the most trash-talkingest generation of athletes I've ever come across. And a lot of these kids can't even play. And then part of that is the parents feeding their egos, but not even putting them in position to where they can actually be successful. Now, a coach can only do so much. A parent, if a parent is raising a high school or middle school athlete, and they're really seriously thinking about taking what they do to the next level, that parent has to do several things. That parent has to be on top of them on their grades. That parent has to make sure and hold them accountable on the athletic side. That parent has to hold them accountable of making sure that kid is eating right, making sure that kid ain't doing nothing bad to his body, i.e., vaping, smoking cigarettes, smoking weed, indulging in drugs, period. Parents give their kids as athletes too much leeway. And then when something bad happens, they want to present this coach with all this information that's false, with nothing behind it. The work ethic, the drive, and the want to be better. A lot of these kids are just so satisfied with just being, oh, I'm on the team. That's good enough for me. I know I ain't going to go to college. I'm just glad to be on the team. It's kids on teams that just want a jersey. My whole thing was, if you on a team, you want to be on that team for the reason of playing for the guys next to them. If it ain't in you to play for the guy next to you, you selfish. You selfish as hell. You don't need to even be in that locker room. Point blank, period. There's too many selfish people in the world. Too many selfish people in the world. It's just sad. But there's too many selfish people in the world. We don't need them. We don't need them flooding sports when it's already like that. And another thing, kids are not coachable. Now, we live in an age where they got video games like NCAA football, Madden, $2K, things of that nature. It's too many. Kids think they know more than coaches. How is that possible? I'm trying to figure that out. How is it possible that you know more than your coach and you ain't even been playing that long? The average high school freshman has probably been playing football 2.5 years by the time they're a freshman. That's the average. The kids that's really, really good on a freshman team that might be even good enough to play varsity probably been playing football at least 4.5 to 5 years. But kids don't understand the logic and the reasoning behind years. They don't understand that experience outweighs talent. Now, kids that have experience and talent, they tend to go a long way. A lot of these kids don't understand work ethic, drive, the drive to get better, and they don't understand being coachable. And then they really, really don't understand the process. These new Millennium athletes they have it way better. They can pull their playbook up on the internet and look at it and still don't know their plays. The technology that's out there to help athletes recuperate better from injury is way better. I probably would not have missed as many games my senior year from that Achilles and ankle injury with the technology they have now and the different therapies they have now. I probably would have been in way better shape. And I was somebody that, as an athlete, you're gonna try to eat as much as you can, but at the same time, you watching what you eat. Like I will admit I ate my parents out of house and home. But it didn't look like it wasn't going anywhere. Folks was trying to figure out how much I weighed. There was a coach that came to visit me from Campbellsville University, my senior year of high school. He wanted to offer me a scholarship, but he didn't know what position he wanted me to play. So he asked different coaches. He went to the first high school, asked those coaches, came to my current high school, and then he just got to asking around because he saw different weights listed for me on the football program book. This dude called me out of class, came to the football office, talked to me, and then wanted to put me on the scale. Now, what made matters worse on my part, because I'd worked out so much and had put in so much, Coach Arrington was under the impression that I weighed only 225 pounds. You know what I'm saying? Then Coach Mack and Coach Birchwell, they really didn't know. Coach Birchwell said 230. Coach Mack said he said 235, 240. I stepped on the scale. I'm 255 pounds. And they measured my body fat. They taped me, and I was at 7%, 8% body fat. And this coach was looking at me like, there's no way that you're 225, that you're 255. He was like, you look like a receiver. I was 6'4". I was 6'4" and a half, 255. I played fullback. I played O-line, played tight end. I probably played 12 snaps of defensive line the whole time I was in high school. Folks just couldn't believe it. but it's the facts. I put myself in position to get 6 big D1 offers. I had 6 of them. Rice, New Mexico State, TCU, University of Hawaii, Nebraska, Middle Tennessee. Those are my big 6 D1 offers. The rest of the schools that offered me, I mean, I really can't even count them all because I pretty much got offered by every HBCU. I got offered a basketball scholarship by Kentucky Wesleyan. They also was interested in me for football. I mean, it was a number of schools, but I worked my butt off to that. I was benching well over 360 pounds. I was squatting well over 450. I was power cleaning 300 plus. And then I clocked a 4.59 electronic in the 40. Like, I could have played D1. Well, let's just say technically I did play D1 at Jackson State. That's where I started my football career, my college football career at Jackson State University. Now, I did go to Nebraska very, very briefly. It was short-lived. The coaches that recruited me ended up going somewhere else, and we got put in bad hands. So I went to Jackson State. Jackson State had a coaching change. Very, very dishonest man. So I went to Langston University where I finished my finished my football career as a player, and started coaching. And man, I never dreamed that football would take me so far. I got to play overseas. Got to play in an all-star game after I graduated high school in Australia. Years later, I went back to Australia to play professionally. Played a couple times over it. Had a couple of short-term contracts up in the Canadian League. And then I had 3 pro tryouts with the NFL. 2 with the Texans and 1 with the Jaguars. And I'm willing to admit the guys that got picked over me at those tryouts, they were better than me. I can admit that. I gave my all, but my all was not better than theirs. That's the honest to God truth. These kids don't realize that sometimes your best ain't enough. But you got to give your best regardless. These kids don't get it. They don't understand. They do not understand. These kids just want everything to be handed to them. But what I try to make them see is you got to work for everything you get, because the world is not going to give you jack. And the quicker these kids figure that out, the better off they'll be. That's what's different between these kids now and when I was playing high school ball. It's way different now. These kids may be athletically advanced, more athletically advanced in our group, but 20 years ago, we were more fundamentally sound than these kids. These kids are way more flawed than these kids are not very fundamentally sound now. These new Millennium athletes, the quicker they get out of their own way, the better off they'll be and the more successful they'll be. That's it. This is AJ Jones from The Chocolate Life. Peace out.